Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe for your morning astrology, human design, and oracle energy report. Happy solstice! It is now officially summer, and officially the sun has gone away. I guess that's what we get when we live on the coast, right? That the clouds can come rolling in when you least expect it, and it takes away the sunshine. But it maybe will be sunny later. I'll hope for that. I actually had to start closing up windows and doors this morning because it was cold, and such is life here in the Pacific Northwest. Let's see who we have out there this morning. I see Suzanne and I see Roseanne. Good morning to you both. Happy solstice to you both. This is the day when the sun hangs at its longest for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, and that means it's all downhill from here. No, not really. It's just kind of funny to think of on this day, we have the longest day, and exactly 6 months from this day will be the shortest day. I always have to think about that because it's, we build to this point and then we start dropping off, although we do hang for a little bit with these longer days. So blessed solstice to you too, Cindy, and good morning to you, Mimi, and anybody else who's joining us here that I don't see. So I hope you're all having a good morning. And I realized yesterday, just as I disconnected from the show in the morning, that I didn't give anybody the card reading. So yesterday afternoon, when I did the Feng Shui and Chinese astrology show, I did talk about that, but I didn't see as many of you out there as are usually here in the morning. So I thought I would start this morning by giving you what the card was for the summer solstice. And I thought it was an interesting card and a very lovely card. It's called Blessed. Beautiful little angel sitting. Well, she kind of looks like she might be a mermaid almost, and she's curled around what looks to be Spirit's face. You can see there's a face there. And she's also maybe portraying the moon there. She is card number 22. And so let's see, we have a blessed solstice indeed. And let's see what this card meant. 22, the essential meaning was something wonderful that is unearned and unexpected, grace that is unforeseen and a gift from Spirit. So there are moments in life when out of the blue it seems that everything has been orchestrated by divine intervention. You feel blessed in ways that are difficult to express. It's as if the Red Sea parts in front of you and events come together to banish your troubles easily and naturally. You know deep down you did not deserve any of it, and yet here you are. This is one of those times. Let awe and gratitude for all your blessings guide you now. You gotta love that, right? The relationship message in this card is you are moving toward a deepening of intimacy in a unique and sacred partnership. You know you are meant to make this connection. This union blessed by the divine will bring transformation and beauty to the world. This is also a sign that even more important, you're being called to a deeper intimacy with yourself and Spirit. With this new development, you will see evidence of grace in your life. And the prosperity message in this card. Unexpected windfalls and good fortune come your way now. You're in a phase where any difficulties or obstacles that have stymied your success seem to disappear on their own. Be ready to receive. The windows of opportunity will open wide. Accept the blessings given to you now and don't forget to share them. Wonderful, isn't it? That was our card. And I totally didn't get to mention that to you. So here she is again. And I don't know that you can see the beautiful colors, but she's really very much pink and the rosy colors of a sunset. Or maybe it's a sunrise. I don't know, but it looks great. All righty. So that is what the card was for our summer solstice. And today, what I thought I would do, yesterday we talked about the astrology, the planets and what they were doing today as we lined up, for this change of seasons. And today I want to take a look at it through the human design and the gene keys, because of course they give us a little bit more information about the energetic influences that we are under. And because the personal planets, which are the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, are not necessarily engaged here. This morning at 3:07 a.m. my time, the sun was not making any connections to those inner planets, but it was making some very vital connections to the outer planets. And that, as I explained yesterday, kind of sets us up for not really having much control over the things that happen to us over the next 3 months. In other words, it isn't personal. It's more collective in nature, or it's more universal in nature. And that means that, yes, we're involved because we're players here on the field, but the game plan is not of our own making, right? So, every action that is occurring, everything that is happening is in divine right order and is being guided from a different place. And so it's up to us to be able to hold the space for these things to unwind and to unfurl, and to just hold that space in as positive of a light as we can. So I thought what we would do is take a look at each of those planets, those outer planets, what gate they're in, and specifically the line of the gate they're in. The line, as you'll know if you look at your own human design chart, is the little superscript that you see after each number. The bigger number represents the gate that the energy is sitting at. The little superscript represents the line of the number, or the line of the energy. So if you imagine the gate being a highway, and there's 6 lanes on that highway, the lane would be the little superscript number, or the little exponent. And it adds flavor and defines a little more what the energy of that gate would be about. So we're going to dig a little bit into that. So backing up just a minute, we will have a void of course moon later today. Luckily for us, it kind of ends up being later in the day. And I just realized I didn't put my power cord in this morning, so I'm running on battery. Hold, please. There we go. I wondered why it looked like I was slowing down. I thought it was just something in the connection. Nope, it's something in my computer called power. Anyway, so Void of Course Moon begins this evening, my time, 6:34 p.m., 9:34 p.m. East Coast time, and goes until 12:11 p.m. actually tomorrow, my time, 3:11 p.m. your time if you're on the East Coast. So that means for a good chunk of the workday tomorrow for you all on the East Coast, you're in that Void of Course Moon. I think that's appropriate for a Friday, don't you? Let's just wind down the week and just sit with the space of meditation, or just chitter chatter in the office, or, maybe, just clear off your desk or whatever, but don't get started on anything new tomorrow, especially if you're on the East Coast. The West Coast, of course, ours ends around noon, so you'll have maybe a more productive afternoon, but the morning may be just one of those things that you ride off to a slow start. It's okay. It's right, the natural flow of the energy. And at that point in time, as the Void of Course Moon ends on the 22nd, Friday, the sun or the moon will move out of Libra and on into Scorpio. And so the flavor begins to change for the week as we get into the more passionate, deeper waters of Scorpio moon. And let's see, today the moon in Libra is squaring Mercury in Cancer. The moon squaring Mercury can sometimes make it difficult for us to communicate the feelings behind the words. And I have a great example of that as I just am sitting here thinking about this morning. When I got up, which I always get up around 6 a.m., and then I have time to check messages and get ready for the day, get my bed made, get, the usual, just have time to breathe. But my husband was in a flurry of activity, and he had turned on the heater in the bathroom for me because he knew I wanted to take a shower. But of course, I didn't know that I wasn't cooperating by getting in the shower the moment that I got out of bed and making his life all better. So he was irritated with me. He was in a really bad mood. But all he could say was that I'm late, I'm running short of time, and wasn't able to communicate what the emotion was that he was experiencing. So I was picking up on this, and I tapped into it, and I realized, okay, so maybe he's not feeling like I'm very grateful or thankful for him having set up the morning for me, and him taking his time to do that instead of doing what he needed to do to get ready for work on time. So I tapped into that, and I shut my mouth, right? I didn't react to that negative energy that he was portraying. I allowed it to just hold space. I kind of walked away And I walked out and I said, thank you so much for taking care of me the way you do. I love you. And I just walked out of the room, let him get ready to go. And he left. He didn't even really say goodbye to me. But that was okay. I was not going to dig into the emotion of this and make it something bigger than it was. And that's kind of indicative of the energy that we're carrying this morning. Emotions are difficult to express and we misplace them. Right? He was already feeling a little stressed because of time. He took the time to take care of me. And then, that emotion couldn't get expressed the way he needed it to be. So we may come in contact with that a couple more times this morning, right? Where people's emotions aren't able to be expressed. Try to stay out of reacting to it. Let me tell you, I was biting my tongue and my fingers because typically I would have had some kind of tart rejoinder to say to him, and it would have probably escalated the situation. We are also in a square to Pluto in Capricorn today. Very powerful undercurrents going on here with the moon triggering emotions, Pluto taking us into empowered territory. What are we being empowered to do? But this is out on the bigger world stage as well. And I noticed yesterday I was in the middle. I had a lady come over to my house yesterday to have her human design reading here. And we were talking and, talking about her chart. And all of a sudden I tapped into some kind of energy change. And I went, did you feel that? And she said, yeah, something just shifted. And I said, I don't know what it is, but something shifted. I felt it. She felt it. And later, after we were done talking, because I just noted the time, and it was exactly the moment that Trump was rescinding the order of the immigration department separating kids from families, or separating kids from their parents. And I had felt that shift. So there are these very powerful undercurrents going on that we really, it's not anything that we have the power over, but it's a powerful undercurrent that's shifting and changing. And the moon showing us the timing of all of this. In this case with Pluto, it is just something that is a powerful change, transformation afoot. Now, is it all fixed? No, the situation isn't all fixed. But I think we saw what happens when people stand up and use their voices, when they put pressure on the people in power to do the right thing. And maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe all we did was hold space for that to occur. But obviously, whatever it was, we managed to have our voices heard. And it was Suzanne saying she felt that too. It was weird. I don't usually feel that. And nor do I usually stop in the middle of a sentence, basically, when I'm talking to someone and go, did you feel that? I mean, unless it would be an earthquake, and it wasn't an earthquake, but it was an energy quake of some sort. And I felt it in that moment. So it tells me that we are all connected, and these powerful shifts and things that are happening. Even though, as I'm telling you, this isn't a personal thing, it is something that we can tap into, that we are a part of, and it just kind of ripples through the whole of the collective energy grid when something shifts like that. So again, a kind of interesting day, such a good word for a lot of emotions and a lot of different things. I hope everybody else kind of tapped into that themselves. I know most of the people that are on here in the morning are highly sensitive, and I know that. So I'm sure a lot of you tapped into that as well. I'm just checking comments to see if there's anything else or questions. Today I wanted to go into human design and the gene keys. In my mind, those two are sort of married. The human design being the more, I'm going to say this word and I don't mean it in a bad way, the more superficial view of what's happening energetically, and the gene keys, the more deeper view of what is happening. And so when we start to look at that, I saw a pattern emerging out of it. I'm going to get my book out of the way here. This book, by the way, if none of you have heard of me talking about this book, this is an excellent book. It's called The Book of Lines, Introducing a Revolutionary System that Unlocks Your True Potential. And it is by Keaton Parker. And I'm not even sure I'm saying his name right, but I like that name. And in this book, you can look at let me see if I can show this page. So I was looking at the gene key 31, or the gate 31, right? So 31. And then he actually also has the gene keys. Oh, there's my finger, the gene keys in there. So you could see that in the gene key 31, the highest expression would be humility. The gift would be leadership, and arrogance, the lower expression of it. And then through here, what we can see is the lines that each of those gates are in. So today, the gate 31, just for an example, happens to be in line 5. Again, the Book of Lines, Ketan Parkin. And so that gives us the little flavor, right? The extra spice that we put in to what the energy of gate 31 means. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, because I want to kind of do the planets in order, and the nodes are at the end. So at the end, we'll talk about the different lines that it's in. But this book gives you that insight and takes you into a little bit deeper place. He even has the planets aligned in there so that if, let's say Mars sitting, well, let's just take a look at 31. We might as well deal with 31 since I had it open, right? So 31 is called the gate of leadership and influence. So it's a very powerful gate. It's where the North Node, our destiny, is sitting right now. This is our collective destiny. It isn't your personal destiny. Your personal destiny is somewhere and it's important. But right now we're taking a look at what collectively is happening for the world, for humanity in general, for the earth in general. And so the North Node sitting at gate 31, which is the gate of leadership, is leading us to the very powerful leadership energies that come from humility, not arrogance, right? So when we saw that, it said leadership in the middle, arrogant in the low expression or the shadow, and humility in the highest expression of that. So what we see here is that collectively we're learning that leadership is something that isn't a dictatorship. It isn't authoritarian. It isn't any of those kinds of governments or rulerships that we normally think of in the older pantheons, the older, what is that called? The old paradigm. What we're looking at is true democratic leadership. That is what we are designed to have. True democracy, where leaders are elected by the masses and are beholden to those masses for holding the space through humility, holding the space of leadership. Now take a look at the government that we have. We are one of the democracies in the world. And when we look at our leaders, what do we see? We see sometimes that we don't have much of a voice, that the masses don't really get to affect things as much as we think we do. And then something like what happened yesterday comes along. And then we really see that we as a mass can remind our leaders that they were elected by us to represent us and to hold values that are similar to our values. And that when leaders lead from arrogance, they're setting themselves up for a fall. But when they lead from humility, it engages all of us to support them in being the leader, as the leader is supporting all of us to be our best. That's what a true democracy is about. And there are other things that we could bring up about it, but the lessons involved here are about leadership. And if we look to the line that the North Node is in, so gate 31 is sitting in the line 5, which is the line of, what do we call it? The heretic. Doesn't really mean that, we're heretics, but it's just the name of the line. And what this is telling us is about the lesson involved in this gate right now is about being farsighted, about seeing the bigger picture of what's happening, holding the intention to assert ourselves into the world in a way that's collectively about our values. It's amazing, right? That's amazing. The influence that we have right now is the intention that we set for a brighter outcome, right? We know we've had some dark days here in the US since Trump was elected, some very dark days. Others of you, I'm sure, think that it's been wonderful. And therein lies the problem, the disparity between some of those people that think we're headed in the right direction and the bulk of us who think that we've gone down the wrong road, right? So what we have to do is hold the intention now for a brighter future. So it's our intentions that are going to drive what happens here. Our intention was to reunite these families. Now, the reuniting of the people that have been separated already from their children has not happened. So we still have work to do, right? We're going to have to bring some real pressure to bear on the government to bring those kids back to their families. But at least for the moment, we've stopped the practice of separating them. And we did that by holding an intention. Our intention was to have that stopped. So now our intention needs to maybe broaden a little bit and have the intention for a brighter outcome. Okay, so let's go backwards now to Jupiter, because Jupiter is the first of the planets that I consider an outer planet, even though she's so bright in the sky at night. Do you guys look up at the sky ever and see how beautiful she looks? Roseanne says Chetan is how you say his name. I've heard it said Ketan. I've heard it Chetan. I've heard Chetan. Who knows, right? Until I hear him actually talk and say his name. Then I'll be corrected. Roseanne also says, yes, the energy is potent. Definitely it is out there. Lots of people checking in saying they felt the shift too. Very good. Very good. So when we go backwards to Jupiter now, Jupiter's been sitting in the line 1, and the line 1 is the most creative line in human design. And as a creative line, it is all about expressing ourselves in the world. It is the energy of creation, self-expression, creativity, and beauty, right? Creativity and beauty are the two highest expressions of that energy as we look at human design, or as we look at the gene keys. Beauty in our expression, right? We're holding out the energy for what it is that we can create. And remember, when we looked at this deeper at one point, beauty was the highest expression, and the lowest expression was entropy. And entropy implies we're not moving, right? There's no growth happening. We're not moving forward. We're not moving backwards. We're just kind of stuck, right? That's kind of what entropy is about. So here we have the planet Jupiter, which is the planet that represents growth and expansion. And the expression here is creativity and expressing from your true gifts, from your gifts. So somewhere in your human design is the key to your gifts. And how do you want to express those gifts, right? If you're having to put in a lot of effort to put forward into expressing a gift, maybe it's the wrong gift that you're expressing, or maybe you're not expressing it in the correct way. So somehow we also have a more inner view to take here as to what it is that we're expressing out in the world. Good morning, Michelle. It's good to see you. And so that is the energy that Jupiter is expanding, taking us into the way that we would express ourselves more fully and completely. And I'm just looking to see if what planets here, it's not Jupiter that has any, special creative energy here. But this was interesting. The moon is sitting here reflecting the moon's phases. Your self-expression finds its own natural timing. That's another important piece here, I guess, because the moon being exalted here at this gate would suggest that everything in divine right timing, correct? Right? So the next planet out is Saturn. By the way, Jupiter's in retrograde motion. So it is moved back as far into gate 1 as it will go. Check something here real quickly. I don't think she moves out of that gate. Jupiter stays in that gate. Yeah, all the way through the summer. And that's because she turns direct here in early July. So she is going to stay at this gate for the foreseeable summer, for the foreseeable next 3 months, these coming 3 months. So the summer here for us as a people, as humanity, is about creative self-expression. Saturn is also retrograde and now at gate 58, where he has been for a while. Gate 58 in its highest expression is bliss, joy. And I want to remind you all that joy sits on the root center. It doesn't sit on the emotional center. So joy isn't an emotion so much as it is a foundation of who we are. And bliss and vitality, this is energy that's vital, that brings out when we're in expressing the energy of joy, and bliss, we're really expressing vitality and the real juice of being a human being. And Saturn retrograde at this point stays in this gate also for the whole of the summer. I'm just going to verify that really quickly because I know he changes direction as well. Okay, not true. He does not stay there for the whole of the summer. In July, he will have retrograded back to gate 10. I find that interesting too, because gate 10 is where the Earth is sitting today. So when he moves from joy and moves over to 10, the gate 10, remember, is the gate of self-love and having heart for yourself, self-compassion. So interesting that we're going to move from joy to self-love with Saturn, who doesn't seem like the planet that would represent anything to do with that, but he also takes us to the truth of who we are, our expression of our authentic self. So through the summer, then, what Saturn will be connecting us to is all about our expression of bliss and vitality. And before I forget to show you this, I wanted to show you something really interesting about the energies today. This morning, I was thinking about where all the gates are being touched by planets at this point in time. And I went, you know what? There aren't any of them that are connected to each other. Remember how a couple weeks back we had 2 planets connecting us and we were acting more like manifesting generators, right? So everybody had a defined sacral and everybody had a defined throat at that moment in time. So the conditioning in the field, if you will, was about behaving as a manifesting generator. Take a look at this. This is the chart of just now. I drew this just before we went on air this morning. And as of right now, with the exception that all of you have things defined in your chart, it's reflector time. There's nothing defined here. Nothing. So again, that backs up so here we are today. Any child born here today, reflector, until, the moon moves and maybe makes a connection to a different gate and perhaps, then creates a projector. So this day, as the summer solstice begins, takes us into reflector territory, which tells us that we are all reflections of one another. I thought that was fascinating, right? We're all reflections of one another. And so that means that all of even the negative things that we perceive happening out there in the world are really just reflections from in here with us. So again, we are all linked, and the energies show us how we're linked. And through Saturn, then, we are linked in discovering our path to bliss and our path to self-love through the summer. Uranus, our friendly, electrified awakener god of the sky who brings us change and surprises, and heaven only knows what else that little planet can bring us. Sitting at gate 3, has been sitting at gate 3 for a while. Gate 3, as you know, is on the sacral, and it is usually a gate that we think of in terms of mutation. It is a gate that is very mutative. Its whole energy is about change. And I'm opening the book to find out, because I think, it is the energy of chaos in its lowest expression. Uranus at the gate of chaos, right? The planet of rebellion, the planet of just change that happens in a moment at the gate of chaos. So no wonder our world seems a little chaotic in its lowest expression. It is, right? In its shadow, the shadow of the changes that are happening on the planet through Uranus, through its placement in human design right now, it begins with that energy of chaos, leading us up then to innovation. What are the innovative ways? I would bet if we can raise the energy a bit collectively, we might find that there are innovative ways to solve our immigration issues, or what we perceive as immigration issues, right? And that leads us to innocence. The highest expression of Uranus here is innocence. And it is in the line 6. It is in the role model line. I think this really is a call for the U.S. to restore itself, to renew itself as the role model of innovation. of how do we solve problems from a new perspective. Immigration isn't a new issue. I mean, it's not a new issue. And in fact, I would say to everybody out there, as long as the world has borders, you will have these issues. Some point in our history, in our yet to be revealed history, I believe the world will be without borders, that people will naturally align themselves with the place on the earth energetically that is right for them, and they will have the right to do that. And they won't have these immigration issues. That's way in the future, probably not even in my lifetime, but I hold that as a high intention, that the world can bring us to that we can realign ourselves with that vision, because that is what Uranian energy is doing with us right now. That line 6, renewing, realigning with a higher vision. What is that vision that we're holding? Is it a vision of devolution, or are we looking at a vision of evolution, elevating, right? Renewing, realigning with our vision then. And as an individual, you also have a vision. So a realignment for yourself with your higher vision of what it is that your role is to here to play, right? Neptune sitting at the gate 63, also in the line 6, which a role model line. It's interesting, the 3 outer planets all sitting at role model status. And role model status meaning, ultimately there's something to be gained for the vision that we're all holding here. And this gate 63 is the gate that at the highest, and the gift is about inquiry and truth. We were talking about this just a couple of days ago. And the line 6 that it's in is about anticipating, but remaining in the present, focused with our eye looking forward, but remaining here in the present moment. So it's holding that space where we're not necessarily reenacting the past. And you know what I'm talking about there, because the memes on Facebook are everywhere, drawing parallels to the time of the Nazis, the time just preceding World War II, which, by the way, happens to coincide with the last time that Uranus was in Taurus. So we're seeing a repeat. We are seeing it. We are seeing that fascism, and we're seeing that energy of separation and of authoritarianism trying to exert its energy on us. And the question then is, what do we do about it? Right? Well, we hold fast to the current age that we're in, and we look forward, right? We look forward to where we want to be, toward truth. Right? Toward truth. But we also have to remember to remain in the present moment. So, because it's only in the present that we can take any action or do anything to affect what's going on in our world. And then finally, Pluto, before I get to the nodes again, Pluto is also in retrograde motion, also having just retrograded this week. We talked about it, I think, backwards into the line 6 of the gate 54, which is the gate of ambition. It is in the mystic circuit, the beginning of the search for illumination or enlightenment. Ultimately, its highest expression is ascension. And we talked about that. Remember how ascension, I'm going to go back to the book here in gate 54-6. Being politically correct, watchful of your purpose, and being sincere. Energizing those interactions that are essential, or doing the right thing. So Pluto empowering us to do the right thing. Right? The law on the book may have said it's okay to separate families from their children if they're illegally immigrating to the United States, but is that the right thing? No, that wasn't the right thing, apparently. It wasn't. It isn't. So the right thing is for us to look ahead and look at how we can maybe ascend in some way to be able to see from a higher perspective. Not ascension as in you're going to disappear and go off to some other fifth dimension world that, all the people, that weird, anyway, not that. It's about ascending, arising to the occasion and elevating it. As my Scorpios, we always talk about, are you at the scorpion level? Are you at the eagle level, where from the eagle's perspective, he can see wide and see the bigger picture? And at the final level, it is transformation through the phoenix. So we are being guided to be empowered for complete transformation. But transformation can't happen until we can elevate our perspective, until we can look from better eyes, wider eyes, 360-degree eyes, perhaps, right? Where we can see how the past has affected our now, and to be fully engaged in the now with the hopes and the dreams and the ambition and drive to move forward in healthy and enlightened ways. So those are the outer planets. That's what the outer planets are holding us to. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way to look at the gateway that we sit at today as we walk into the summer solstice. Now, to complete the process, looking at the North Node and the South Node. So we talked about the North Node, our destiny taking us to humble leadership, or leadership through humility. Being farsighted enough to see what it is that we need as a country, where we're going, but also staying here with our present moment, with the intention to set, with the intentions of a brighter future, right? That's an outcome that supports all of us, right? The South Node, always important in this, because the South Node is where we've been, right? It holds the energy of the past, and it holds the energy of the gifts and the talents that we have that we can bring to bear in this new destiny that we're headed for. The South Node is at gate 41 in the 5th line. And I'm trying to remember, yes, we talked about this maybe earlier in the month, maybe it was last month, when Mars was sitting at gate 41 as well. Mars and the South Node were in a conjunction, and they were sitting at gate 41. And gate 41 in its lowest expression is fantasy. And fantasy being a place where we escape, where we get stuck, where we remain in the dream state instead of elevating and pushing outward with the dream in order to make something physical, right? So what we saw in the gift was anticipation, the excitement that builds as we begin to take our dreams and make it real. And then ultimately emanation, which is literally just the light shining through your DNA and really allowing us to see the highest expression of who we are, and that it's an individual thing based on the gifts and talents in your cup, right? How did you come here to serve? That was a question we asked. So the South Node reminding us of that, but also how we deal with the constraints that we find ourselves in. And when I did my my solar return, that keeps coming up for me, constraints. I still don't like that. Oh no, it wasn't in my solar return. It was in my psychological profile. Remember that website that Suzanne found for us, the astrology-online.eu, where you can go and get a psychology analysis done. I hope you have the courage to do that. And then I hope you have the courage to actually read it and let it sink in and really inform you about what your underlying psychology is. Because the more of us that do that, the more we are engaging that shadow and transmuting it and allowing ourselves to move higher through, to ascend through to our highest self, where ultimately we are returning to the light that we are. And this is the next several months, right? This isn't going away real soon. In fact, I think it is until the nodes move out of the Aquarius Leo axis that we get to play with this energy. So leadership, humble leadership, and looking through the past lens at how we are here to express the light of who we are, individually, but also collectively. So interesting times ahead. The summer If anybody needs to know how this plays out in their personal chart, you can request your free human design chart. And all you have to do is look for these gates to see if they're defined. And there's something worthy about talking about this part too. So let's say, in fact, I look at all of those gates and I go, yeah, some of those gates are defined for me already, right? I carry gate 3. I have gate 60. No, I don't. I have gate, what was the other one? Oh, 41. So if the gate is defined in your chart, then it is an authentic expression that you've already developed about what you do. Let's say for me in gate 41, how do I deal with the dream state? How do I escape? What is my Achilles heel as it comes to expressing the highest through gate 41? That's already been developed in me. And if I had that gate open, then I would be having to look at how I do that based on the people that are around me. Right? How the planets affect me. Are there times that just when I get to the pinnacle of my getting to be successful or do something, to create the physical expression of the dream, do I somehow cut myself off and self-sabotage? So these are all the things that we can do as we look at our chart. If it's defined, how is it that I'm broadcasting that energy? If it's undefined or open, how is it that I'm affected by the people around me or by the planets as they transit across? And what do I do with that energy? So it's a worthy exploration, if you will, of your own human design. And I would love to have more conversations about that kind of thing with people. Right? Here's how I express gate 41. I'm going to tell you, how do I escape? I escape through TV. I binge watch programs, right? When I am at my edge, when I can't handle anything more, I just escape that way. And I know when I'm doing it. I know when I'm doing it. And I know that when I do it, if I try to do that consciously, if I am consciously doing that, then I understand where I am and why it's happening. And I can cut it off at the point it might become a problem. Like if I was sitting here all day binge watching television, that could be a major problem. So I watch myself and how I escape. Sometimes I'm escaping through books, through study. And the fear gates that you have on the spleen that are defined can also play into this, right? Because if the pain or the fear gets too great, how do I escape? So then I would be moving away from the light and not toward the light. All these things we can look at in our charts energetically. So maybe it's a good summer for us to do some of that personal exploration and discovery, because a lot of what's happening in the outer world is in support of us as individuals, but not necessarily anything that we can do anything about, right? It's happening with or without our input. So, great summer. Take a look within. And if you need any help with that, let me know. I would be happy to help you on that journey. Let's see what people are saying here before I check out for the day. Mimi says, wow, lots of heady stuff to contemplate. And heaven knows there is much reflection going on. Oh, yes, indeed. Michelle Brooks, wow, that's amazing. Reflector. I know, Michelle. In all fairness, I don't often pull a chart for the day. But it was surprising to me when I saw the chart pulling and I'm like, dang it, I forgot to do something. And then I look and I went, no, it's exactly as I suspected, that there was something different going on here in this window today. And the difference is that the rarest of all the profiles, or of all of the types, shows up today as a gateway. We're all the reflectors. What are we reflecting? What's being reflected back at you as well from the outer world and the people in your world? Because it is a two-way mirror. So it takes love, it takes courage, it takes self-discipline to move through this stuff. And I encourage all of you to do it. And remember, this is based in joy, because what we're trying to do is look at the way that we are here to express ourselves with the highest amount of joy. Saturn reminding us that the form and the structure of our beingness comes through bliss and joy. That's incredible to me. Saturn, the taskmaster, reminding us of that. We like to think of him as the devil in disguise, right? Or we like to think of him as our, nemesis. But in this case, Is he really being our friend? Is he reminding us of something vital that we lost, that we've forgotten? I think so. And in that, he's being our friend. And he's reminding us to get back on the horse, the right colored horse, whatever it is that you're here to do. And whoever it is that you're here to be, go out there and be that and do that. In the meantime, have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you all. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be looking at the energy for the weekend. And I can't believe it. We're toward the end of another week. Wow. All right, everybody. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.